talk about people that are action-oriented, that are there serving and not about themselves, we're really fortunate to have, there's more than one on the city council in San Diego, but there's one for sure that I can tell you on the city council that works his tail off and is not there because he's looking for glory. He's there because he said, RJ, I want to have it that we're here to serve the people of the city, they're not there to serve us. So I've really come to appreciate this guy. He gets in the trenches, he gets his nose bloodied, and he says, I'm not supposed to say honorable, but my mama raised me to say honorable to your leaders. So the Honorable Scott Sherman. Scott, thanks for coming and being with us today. So I've asked Scott to give us a real quick flyby in the city, what he's excited about, if there's any concerns, and then also just to open up the floor. What do you want Scott to take back to the city and the city council? To hear from the business community, what do you want him to be aware of as well? But anyway, Scott, great to have you as always.
Great. Thank you, RJ, and it's a pleasure to be here again. Well, with you again. This is the first time here, but we go back a long way, doing a lot of things together. And as a council member, I think what I bring to council, which is a little bit different, is was actually a small business owner for 28 years. Sold my insurance agency last year. Started my first small business when I was 24 years old. And too many people at City Hall right now don't understand the importance of small business and the importance of business in general. Because if you really think about it, the city would not exist as it is without business and the jobs that business provides. Too many leaders at City Hall have zero experience in the business world, but yet they're making decisions and running a $3 billion organization. That's tough to put on people and tough to make it an atmosphere that makes it easy for business to thrive. Too much regulation, taxation, red tape exists at City Hall because people down there don't have the life experience and understand where the dollar comes from and how hard you have to work for it. I mean, I remember as a small business owner, the amazing responsibility of keeping the doors open, keeping the paychecks flowing to make sure that your employees can go home to their families and can support their families. I remember the first time we did instead of having street tacos out back for the Christmas holiday party, we actually rented a hall because times were good, and we asked everybody to bring all their family down there. And suddenly, my little group that existed on one floor of our building grew to about 125 people. That's where I realized the dollar that I provide makes it possible for those families to exist. The taxes that my business provides and your businesses provide make it so we can provide police, parks, libraries, streets, sometimes. But that's what we're supposed to do. And I brought my small business mentality of 5 very simple words that when you walked into our office, I told my staff, these are the 5 words we have to live by, and if we do, we'll do fine at this office. How may I help you? Too many times bureaucrats try to figure out a way to no. It's easy to say no and get it off your desk and move on. They don't try and find a way like we do in the business to how to help our client and get to yes. So we need people to get involved who have business experience in politics. Because if you don't, you take what you get. Right now in the housing world, to build housing in San Diego, 47% of the cost of constructing housing in the city of San Diego right now is government regulation and red tape. And then people will come to me and say, gee, it sure costs a lot to live here. I can't afford to buy a house. It's because the regulation and the red tape gets in the way. It's too expensive and those costs get passed on. Right now, Chris Ward is floating an idea that if you're going to build housing and it's over 2 units, you have to provide inclusionary affordable housing on site. That will stop production of housing altogether.
Over 2.
What we really need to do is produce a bunch more housing so that when it gets back to where it was where I was a kid, where affordable housing was called an apartment. That's where you went. You got an apartment, you moved your way up the ladder. Right now we have all kinds of subsidized housing, affordable housing. It's subsidized taxpayer housing. We have plenty of luxury housing. We have no place in the middle. We have a giant homeless problem in the city. A big part of that is because we don't have housing in that lower middle market area. Even if you are homeless on the streets, you say yes to the services that the city will provide you to get you off the streets and get you help. You get on your feet, you're living on subsidized housing. You get a job, you're starting to get moving. You want to go out and get off subsidized housing and get your own place? Suddenly you're going from $500, or say 30% of your income for housing, to $2,000 a month. Next thing you know, your entire paycheck has to go to put a roof over your head, and you can't afford to get off subsidized housing. So we have some ideas that we're passing here at the city. One is to change development impact fees, which is the fee which is charged to people per unit to build units. We're going to change that to a per square foot basis. And what that'll do right now, when it's per unit, it incentivizes the developer to build the biggest unit they can to get back the fee that they're paying per unit. So you're building one house that costs $750,000, because that's usually the entry level around here. Why not do it per square foot? You can build two smaller houses, sell them at $400,000 each. You make a little bit of extra money as a developer, and you're providing housing that's in that middle market that people can afford when they're moving their way up the ladder. Right now, our kids and grandkids will not be able to afford to buy a home in San Diego. They won't have the same opportunity I had growing up. That needs to change. Which direction it goes is another question. We're gonna have a bunch of things on the ballot coming up this year. You know, Soccer City, San Diego State, Convention Center, probably a housing bond, probably a homeless tourist tax to support homelessness efforts. There'll be a lot of things on the ballot. Make sure you get involved, make sure you vote. The other thing we're seeing at City Hall right now is the unions are really trying to flex their muscles. They are trying to interject themselves into just about everything that is going on at City Hall. To give you an idea how bad it is, the council president vote, which happened just a little while ago, that's supposed to be a vote between council members and that kind of thing. But there's all kinds of pressure from outside influences that come to bear. Rumor was that Myrtle Cole, who was up for re-election, was gonna strip me of being chair of land use and housing because the unions had asked her to. I had union members calling me, telling me, union leaders, saying, hey, if Myrtle gets it, you're out, buddy, fix is in. So I got Myrtle Cole to give me a memo saying she's not changing the committee chairs at all. Official city memo with her signature on it. When we came down to council, time to vote for council president, not one member of the community showed up to support Myrtle Cole. There were 9 people who spoke on our behalf. Every single one was a union leader. Every single one. The vote happened. Myrtle Cole became council president. The next day, I was stripped of my committee chair. 3 days later, the head of the Labor Council is in the Union Tribune saying, yeah, we want to get involved in housing issues more and property issues. So it was a direct correlation. That shouldn't be happening at City Hall. That is Washington, D.C. style, Chicago style politics. This job, I thought, when I took it, was supposed to be a nonpartisan job. You do your part in the community, you go downtown, you serve your community to the best of your ability to solve problems, you go back to where you came from when it's done. That's the way it's supposed to be. There's a reason there's no R or D after your name when you're running for city office. It's supposed to be nonpartisan. So I'm trying to get back to that. I have a solution that I've proposed that's coming up this Monday, which took a procedural effort and 4-person memo to actually get docketed because the council president doesn't want this to come forward because the unions don't want it to come forward. What I'm suggesting is a rotating council president based solely on seniority. You serve for a year, the next senior member takes that spot. Takes out the special influence, takes out the union influence, takes out all the pressure on the council members. And in every private organization I've ever been involved in, you move your way up the chairs. Treasurer, VP, president, and then you get that great title of past president, which is by far the best title you could ever have. But But that's what I'm gonna be trying to do in the next 1,046 days. I don't know if you wanted me to take any questions about Mission Valley or anything like that. Don't know what the time frame is.
Yeah, unfortunately, because we got started a little bit late, but, you know, you can see Scott's heart. I mean, this is a guy who's down there, he truly is there to serve. And I want to make sure that you know about an app that Scott told me about, and it's called Get It Done.
Yeah.
You can download it on your phone, Apple, I'm the Samsung guy, so it's just called Get It Done. And if there's anybody to thank specifically about a pothole that got filled in your street, this is probably the guy.
Well, Get It Done came from an audit we did when I was chair of audit committee on city services and how we could provide better services, and the Get It Done and the 311 app came all out of that. We spent a ton of money on technology just to get caught up. I mean, when I got there 5 years ago, people were still hitting print and running it down and putting it in an inbox for people to get something done in code enforcement. Now it's all on tablets and those kind of things.
So we're
Scott moving right along.
Yeah, get this app. I'm going, hey, this is pretty cool. So anyway, unfortunately, I'm going to cut it there because we got to get Alan on here so he can take, because his stuff is great too. But please help me in thanking a guy who's working his tail off for us, literally, in San Diego, and that's Scott Sherman.